That's fair.
Yeah.
But in the Voice of Reason power rankings, opposite Mike Flores, I feel like I
You're like
occupy
top 3 at least.
Yeah, amongst
Yeah.
the top 3. Like
Yeah,
Land
yeah.
is top 1. Sky Cloud Expanse is Land 1 from Cameron Heise's Replenish list.
What do we think? Is this right? Is Green White Geddon right?
Yeah,
That's
so
happening?
I guess it's Green White Geddon and it happens to have Thornscape. Thornscape Apprentice, not a lot of targets in the Replenish deck, so our favorite card is probably not going to necessarily come into play. So the dynamic that we're watching out for here is effectively Wayfarer Wasteland Chains and possible porting and early Armageddons versus You're Dead.
Right, versus your deck. Clearly, like, attunement seems to be the glue. Like, I played against a couple of these today, and attunement feel like, can this deck exist without attunement? How about that?
Yes.
Start there. It
1,000,000%.
Really?
Thank you for teeing that up for me.
Yeah.
Attunement.
Tee it up.
Actually, one of my least favorite cards.
Really?
It is heavily enabled here by the Ancient Tomb. So on one hand, we have a Dream start for the Replenish player getting this attunement down on turn 2.
Yep.
But assume that the Replenish player didn't have the Ancient Tomb, and he wanted to look for cards, and he only had 2 mana. Is there a blue instant spell?
Would you really play Impulse over attunement?
I already have, Mano.
Is it good?
I already have.
What does the world think about this?
The world has called me many names.
Yes, I want to call you some names right now.
Some of them in the it's just how it starts. You know, you start as a heretic, and then all of a sudden the followers.
First they what's the thing?
It's like a master thing. It's like they wouldn't listen to his message.
Right.
He spoke the truth, but they wouldn't listen.
If I had less drinks, I would know the more formal way to say this.
But it's okay. I know the meme you're referring to.
You know what I mean. Right.
So we have a meddling mage. It is most likely naming the card Replenish because Replenish would have absolutely rocked Javier Lugo this turn, assuming
he had some cool stuff to do with this attunement.
Assuming exactly the attunement was there. So I'm not saying that attunement is outright bad.
So if he doesn't play that attunement, is he naming Parallax Wave?
I would be inclined to name
Swords of Plowshares, right?
Actually, it's different because I actually play a meddling mage deck that runs counterspells. We don't believe that there's counterspells in Javier Lugo's deck.
I mean,
so his mages need to be more like sort of disrupting big things that can happen because he has no say about whether or not Replenish can just cast Replenish, right? Besides meddling mage. So Lugo is more likely to hope that Heise doesn't have Plowshares because I don't think that Lugo can put together a clock that while meddling mage is on Plowshares would put Cameron Heise to dead in a couple of turns.
Okay. That makes sense.
But here we have a pretty solid response in the form of the Seal of Cleansing, targeting the Parallax Wave, bringing back the meddling mage. And once again, I would assume because of how much fuss has been made about this meddling mage that it is naming an important card and likely Replenish.
Right. It seems very likely. Part of me wishes that was a disenchant.
Oh, okay. So we got some hand hiders. But y'all in chat, I can tell you, we played Gemstone Mine on turn 1. I feel like we've had a Windswept Heath this entire time in hand. It's kind of crazy. This is Jared Doucette just walked in and said, "Wonderful solution." This may be a little bit of Ravenous Baloth bias over here. A card that is not present in this top 8, surprise to absolutely nobody.
Literally nobody.
Literally no one.
In Tom Matelski's latest rankings, it is barely holding on to tier 3, tier C, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the
I guess
unplayable
it should
one
be
is.
tier 3 now, right? Because that implies there's only 26 tiers per Mike. But this is one big reason why I dislike Attunement specifically, because this Terrageddon
deck is GG's.
Okay, well,
let's find out if you name Replenish right now.
It sounds like this is a training search. We have one white floating, likely from this.
Because he double tapped his city. Yeah, so you've done that before. I see.
Yeah, I'm a known replenisher.
Aficionado. Yeah.
But we have gone minus 2 cards here, and we're gonna.
He's gonna replenish right now.
Yeah,
that's the game if he has it, right?
Yeah. So I will mention that this much ado has been made by me about
holy shit
about card disadvantage in the context of these looty cards.
Yep.
However, if you're playing against a deck that doesn't, okay,
full scoop. Keep
going
with
that
your
was
thought.
our okay. So
yeah.
So if you're playing again, so basically, if you're playing a combo deck the name of the game in combo decks is card disadvantage, right?
Yes.
Just like name any combo deck, Reanimator, Dreadnought, Replenish.
They spew their whole hand to win the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
They just need to get to that point where they're on their last card. So one of Replenish's great weakness, if it is leverage on those looting effects, is that it can be exploited by the grind. But Javier's not here to grind. He's here to beat down, and Replenish can play a fast game where we're looting, we're just digging, and we're just trying to put things together. So I'm interested to see if Javier has any of this Tranquil Domain type technology, maybe some Tormod's Crypt to sort of even the odds against Replenish's best draws.
Is Geddon a trump in this grindy matchup, though? Because if he just slowly tries to grind, plays things, and Geddon's away 4 lands, is that kind of a trump card here?
Absolutely. I mean, so the mana is one axis that the green-white Terry. Sorry. For some reason, we said Thorncave Battle Mage once, and like in my head, I was still stuck on Javier being more of a beatdown deck. We don't know about the presence of more beatdown cards like Nimble Mongoose, which would help this green-white Terrageddon deck get to a point where it has like 6 power in play, and the Replenish player has to act, and if they don't find it, they'll lose. But yeah, Geddon's a huge consideration.
Well, hold on. Let's go back. So
yeah.
Javier is playing green-white Terrageddon.
Yeah.
That was a big deck 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I'm going to address the Baloth in the room. These hand hiders are because this game is currently being watched live on the projector outside. So the audience could conceivably see people's hands. And
gasp.
We don't think, we definitely don't think there would be any signals, any secret languages.
But I don't know if you ever,
sign language.
you're a young buck. Back in my day.
Oh, yeah, that would happen.
When there were Pro Tour top 8s and they would be in the next conference room over and everybody's watching on the big screen, the entire room would gasp when somebody drew like a bolt or whatever.
Yeah, I think the room had to be cleared at some point in a certain match between, was it Brian Manolakis and Naltran?
Oh, yeah. That's
because
actually
the spectators
true.
were getting
arguably the most famous match of all time.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, I would definitely make an argument about this.
You could if you're played some Magic. If you grinded PTQs in the tri-state area, circa late 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get back to what I was talking about, though.
Yeah. Green-white
Terrageddon. Is there a stock green-white Terrageddon list, or is there some variance in how you could play this?
Oh, absolutely. But let's talk about what's happened from green-white Terrageddon between last year and this
That's
year.
what I mean. 2 years ago, I feel like there was a stock list. It played Lantax, it played Scroll Rack, it played all of these things. We're way past that point now.
That's 5-color
Where are we
Terrageddon.
in the last year?
Okay.
Tell me about it.
We don't have a ton of time to talk about full Terrageddon taxonomy, but basically, I would say that the Threshgeddon or Terra Threshgeddon variant was a very popular mid-range version of this deck that slowly evolved to add, to take away the Werebear, take away the Normal Mongoose, add Meddling Mage for a little bit. Because the old deck used to just die to fast combo. I played Replenish against the classic green-white Terrageddon list, and they were just like dead on turn 4 because they just can't do anything about
Unless
it.
they literally get in, I guess, maybe. That's
Right,
their only
but Mox
thing.
Diamond get in, and then what happens if I have Soul Lands? So
And
you
you
might
could
pick up
still-
3 of my lands,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll just make it back to 4. And the green-white Terrageddon deck was not good at presenting a clock.
So that was the deck 6 months ago. You've said it's morphed into this Meddling Mage, the things that have more ways to interact with the opponents.
Absolutely.
One of those ways is Meddling Mage. And you think that this deck, when you see somebody playing green-white Terrageddon right now, could you name how many cards could you name in this in Javier's deck right now?
Well,
main deck, 57.
Apparently, there's a Thornscape here.
There can't be true, right?
I mean, it sounds too good to be true.
Is it true? It sounds way too good to be true.
But it was spotted, and it was spotted on stream.
All right. Well, this is doing everything that it possibly can to make me root for Javier. I will never root against a Thornscape Apprentice. Or no, what is it? What's the 2-1? What's it called? Not Apprentice.
Thornscape Apprentice is like
the tapper.
Yeah. It's
what's
a tapper
this one called?
first striker.
Not Battle Mage. What's the one? It's the.
You're thinking
Familiar.
Oh, Thornscape Familiar.
Is that where we're at?
That's
what were you talking about?
We were talking about the tapper.
The tapper's in this deck?
The Apprentice is in this deck.
All right, fine, whatever. I could take or leave that one.
That's the technology for beating Dreadnought. We have a mulligan here from Javier Lugo. Okay, so green, white, blue.
So get back to it.
Yeah.
How many out of 60 main deck cards can you name right now?
Boom, 25 lands, 3 to 4 Sylvans, 4 Meddling Mage, 4 Call of the Herd, 4 Terravor, 4 Armageddon, 4 Weathered Wayfarer.
4 Armageddon.
And Javi's got a Seal of Cleansing.
58? Where are we at?
I mean,
So this is pretty stock, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time staring at this deck list. I have spent some time in the Terrageddon Cabal, but let's talk a little bit about the possibility of just green-white Terrageddon. There are builds of this deck, just green-white.
I don't care about green-white. We saw him play Meddling Mage. Let's move on to what this match is about. He played Meddling Mage, right?
Well, this match is about getting Armageddon done, getting Armageddon down, getting Wayfarer down, and having Wayfarer create Wasteland chains ASAP. So
that's what he wants to do right now.
And there is a possibility that Javi has the technology in the form of Sphere Resistance in his sideboard, specifically to help this matchup along, make the mana suppression plan become really real. And
Sphere, speak of the devil.
Start changing things.
No.
Boom, we have a turn 1 mage.
What do you name in the dark? Attunement? Friendly Church?
Well, right now I'm feeling
Swords?
like it's time to beat down, but we just mulled to 6 and we had a Mox Diamond in our start.
Right, so we're down to 2 cards. We're not in a great spot here.
And I will mention that the Replenish deck, it's not the same Replenish deck from last year too. Replenish players have been adding Mana Leak. So now Replenish players have a say about whether or not all their lands are going to get blown up.
Okay.
So depending on the contents of Javier's hand, he might be in a position where he's interested in naming Mana Leak if he's planning for this big Armageddon turn.
Wow. So these are the kinds of things that a man like you who is plugged into the scene will know. I would never in a million years have guessed that Replenish was playing Mana Leak. I played a couple of Replenish decks today. No one even came close to casting a Mana Leak against me. Well, I don't know if...
So the Mana Leak thing has been really interesting. Effectively, a lot of experimentation has been done between on the Replenish list by multiple pilots. I believe that you can kind of trace back the origin to like the first player who put Mana Leak in this iteration of Replenish.
Is that you?
It's not me. No.
Okay. Thought you were teeing yourself
it's
up there.
No. It was like some concerted efforts by pilots like Andy Culpepper. Mike Packer has been working on this list. Rich Shea got a hold of it, and the collective Replenish mind was just like, these Mana Leaks are valid. In fact, in hindsight, it almost feels silly that they weren't in the deck.
They never played them? Yeah.
Because we had the same, like, Replenish was played by many pilots last year, and the list just looked a lot different, and there were Replenish Cabals last year as well.
What do you think about the vibe between you and me right now compared to the vibe between you and Mike? What's going on?
Well, Mano, you have a way of being an extremely good complementary vehicle to allow people the space to be their best selves to showcase.
That was so polite.
Yeah, it's been said that on your podcast that you're great at teeing people up. But there might be a little bit less of like the sheer chaotic value of like making everyone listening just like want to throw their phone into the river.
You use the word value there.
Yeah.
How do you, in retrospect, would you have chosen that same word, or like do you think there's value in that in throwing your phone into the river?
Well, there's negative value.
Okay. And
there's story equity.
There's definitely story equity.
All right, we have a Frantic Search with 1 white mana floating, and a very astute Wasteland in response
on the stack, yes,
to stop this Frantic Search from essentially becoming a ritual, and in fact, cut it down to its tracks. So there's no 4 mana spell that's going to be cast this turn. So excellent Wasteland play on the side of Javi.
Do we know what this Meddling Mage is on? What do you think it's on? I know we don't know, but you should know, right? You know how this works.
Well, I don't know the contents of Javi's hand, and
he has 2 cards
because
he
played it on turn 1.
Right.
I think that the biggest thing would be just Plowshares because I plan on playing more creatures. However, Javi has not backed up his start with more creatures, which would then lead me to believe that he's more interested in playing a disruptive game. I don't know if he held on to this Wasteland until his turn 3. And if you're playing a disruptive game, this Orm's Chant is...
What do we think about that?
Very interesting to me.
Weird, right?
I don't know. I feel like Cameron's thinking here is I'm going to go into Javi's turn where he has 4 mana, and I'm going to use this Orm's Chant to buy me exactly...
Poor man's Time Walk?
Yeah, exactly.
Gross.
Create just enough space to get stuff through. But this is really interesting stuff. Both players' hand sizes are dwindling. Not a lot of resources going on. Life totals not super low and not super high. And
Is this normal?
Our own
Replenish decks
meddling
playing
mage.
Meddling Mage? Is that normal?
So any deck that can produce blue and white mana,
Often is interested in casting Meddling
I would
Mage.
never be surprised.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
never be
Yeah,
surprised. Would I do it? Personally, I'm not interested in naming a lot of cards besides opposing meddling mage or Phyrexian Dreadnought. But if I had them in my sideboard and my opponent was threatening my mana base with Armageddons, then I might consider playing meddling mage to not get Armageddon ever and be able to develop my mana, spin my attunements, and eventually get to a place where I've cast all my stuff.
It's also possible that Meddling Mage literally never dies, right? So like he probably
In this-
Javier probably sideboard out of swords and all
swords
that stuff.
are out.
So
Swords
like
are out.
that's gonna live forever.
I agree.
So he might never cast Armageddon now.
That is also true. He might never cast another spell.
Yeah, whatever that might be. This Furnace also feels quite relevant to Javier's interests.
Well, it was, but right now, if I'm Javier, I'm looking for a creature that is larger than 2.
Your kingdom for a fucking 5/5.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
Mano,
Not even a 4/4.
Mano,
You can't. Yeah.
I want to say something that I hope you don't gloat on me about, but
Okay.
I want to say that I'll admit that I'm wrong about one thing, and that is, at this position, Javier would kill for a Ravenous Baloth.
Yeah. Of course.
He would enlighten tutor for a worldly tutor for a Ravenous Baloth. He would trade a card in his hand and his draw
2
step
cards
for
for a vanilla 4/4. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I kind of agree. How to like trading 1 Ravenous Baloth for 2 2/2s? How do we feel about that? They're probably very important, right? So
I'm hyped because I boarded
yeah.
on my plowshares. What else am I
you
gonna
need
do?
you need a way to kill those things.
Well, I need my offense to show up. So maybe another Ravenous Baloth. But I know what you're saying, and I know what you're thinking, and I'm thinking it too. Not Ravenous Baloth. We need a Spiritmonger.
I wasn't actually thinking that. I was thinking this is a little embarrassing and dates me, but I was thinking a kicked Kevu Titan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's absurd, of course.
Options. You got
Yeah.
options. You need a bear. You got a bear. You need a 5/5. You got a 5/5.
Wow. Okay, we're right now. Where's the bar? Where's the advantage bar? The old
my
Pro Tour
God.
bar.
Yeah, I know about advantage.
What
bar,
are we at,
man.
Javier?
I'm not that young. I've seen the advantage bar. I've been in the world of advantage bar, and I would have to say Javier has a lot of permanent base disruption, but evidently, okay. So what's really interesting here is, and I've actually experienced this from the Replenish side. Both decks right now are not positioned to gain a particularly large amount of card advantage. The only card advantage engines in Javier's deck are Armageddon, Sylvan Library, and Weathered Wayfarer.
And Armageddon stopped out.
Plausibly. We still don't know.
Yeah.
And Cameron doesn't have card advantage engines showing it. He hasn't showed us any Factor Fiction Deep Analysis type cards.
Yep.
So both players are going to take turns knocking the top of their deck and hoping that it gives them gas. And I think whoever just draws more things that do things from this spot is more likely to win. And I will say that Cameron's deck has more things that do things.
So you think right now they're both hoping to top deck, and
Yeah.
you think Cameron. All that said, you're 50, 56, 44 Cameron. Is that where we're at? 60, 58,
I'm going to give
42?
Cameron actually quite a large advantage. Because
Wow.
Another reason is because he has Island, Plains
So we
in
can't
play.
get wastelanded ever.
He has 4 mana. He has the mana he needs to cast all of his spells. And one of the ways to for one of the hopes for Terrageddon.
That's not great. Oh, I mean, I guess you can seal in response, right? You have to.
Yes, right now we are priced into
Yes,
Seal
you
Cleansing
have to.
targeting Opalescence. I don't want to spend too much time explaining the stack. I'm just saying
No,
if there's a wave on the stack, Seal Cleansing targeting the Opalescence
Is the correct play.
Yeah,
in
but
Magic
you don't
the
have a lot of
Gathering.
options.
Yeah. Javier obviously knows this. He's just.
Oh, don't set him up for that. Hopefully not.
He must know. If I know this, he must know this. He's in the top 8. You can't beat this, right? If you're Javier, if this lands.
Yeah, we're gonna activate the seal. So
Yeah.
Javier has probably thought in his head, it was like, maybe I let this resolve and try to make some other things happen. But of course, he reached the conclusion that
Right,
is
right.
just the
You
stock
can't let
play.
it resolve.
Yeah.
Like all I'm going to say is that Williams would have made that play in 2.2 seconds.
And he knows what the cards do too.
Yeah.
Which is a big,
It's pretty
which was a
impressive.
big thing for Williams.
Right. He actually knew. I asked my opponent who passed Histrodon again. He has to morph against me. It was Histrodon. I asked him.
He asked you if there was a history.
No.
Oh, okay.
He played it, and I like
Okay.
at the end of the game I looked at it, and I'm like, how much does that cost to unmorph? And Williams was like, green one, dude. Like, look it up. Like, he knew that. He hasn't seen the card in 23 years. He just knew it off the top of his head. So that's kind of impressive, I think.
Well, he is
Wow.
what some might call Javi's saying I would like my meddling mage back.
I need a block. I'm like, does he need to block at this point?
I mean,
he might.
He certainly is losing the race on the battlefield. But now this meddling mage is going to come back. It's going to definitely name Replenish because Replenish would completely. Well, actually, sorry, I take that back. The Phyrexian Furnace is, of course, still active on the battlefield. Alex
What
KJ,
is the one sack ability for Furnace do?
It's target
remove one
exile,
target card.
Draw a card. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So Javier is quite close.
So Replenish doesn't do anything quite yet.
Right now, Replenish would put a naked Opalescence on the battlefield
right.
because Javier would be priced into using
Killing
the
the
Phyrexian Furnace
yeah.
to take the wave out. Yeah. And that is because his life total is under such significant pressure. But
so given we played this many turns, like what so you told me you can name his deck within the old name that Toon game. You name his deck within 57 cards or whatever. What other creatures are in this deck? Just
Terravor, Call of the Herd, and Wayfarer.
Oh, Call of the Herd. So he's just dying for a fucking 3.
Well, evidently, Thornscape Battle Mage, which would help his Meddling Mage get first strike and win Meddling Mage combat.
What's the probability that
on
Cameron
Tequila.
knows that ability?
Well, judging by
75%?
By printing selection. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Like, could he pick him off with first strike? That would be unbelievable in the top 8.
Oh, just he didn't notice.
That's what I mean.
That's the kind of stuff that you boomers love, right? It's
Love.
just like oh, you forgot to
Yeah.
forgot about
On-board
this line.
trick.
Yeah.
That's Mike uses the word on board. He said something. He used it as a verb. He's like, I onboarded him.
Onboarded. And now that's just like a boring HR term.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, Bears on Bears. I have to
First
imagine.
strike is quite powerful.
I mean, what's hilarious here is that if Javier draws an Armageddon and one of these mages isn't naming Armageddon,
it's dude.
Why would he cast it? There's no reason to.
No,
cast
he can't even cast it now. That is actually kind of hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Because that's his number 1 card he wants to name, and it actually does nothing now.
Yeah. Right now, if one of these meddling mages is on Terravor, so you know me, I love Call of the Herd. Call of the Herd, just unbelievable. Second best green card in the format.
There's a reason that 3. Did you ever see the black-green Call of the Herd deck I played in the PSS a few years ago?
I did not.
All right, well, you should Google
So
that.
you're the original Lanny Rock.
No one played Call of the Herd in 2021 when I played it, and I played 4. So, but I picked up 2 test sprint Call of the Herds back then.
Oh, yeah.
Just because that card is so fucking such a banger, and no one played it. I'm like, this card seems good. Why does no one play this? And now the fucking world finally caught on 3.5 years later.
Yeah, I mean, you really were a man before your time.
Yeah. I'm a mid-range grinder at heart, honestly. Like, I don't want to combo you out. I do not want to sly you out. I don't want to, like, play a standstill slow game and win on turn 30. I just want to mid-range you out.
Yeah.
And Call of the Herd is quintessential mid-range.
I just want to play a 3/3 for 3 and then a 3/3 for 4.
Right. You know, the number of times today that I cast Terminate on an elephant token and they bought it back and I terminated another elephant token was frankly embarrassing. Please don't tell my friends. It was just awful.
I just scoop.
Yeah.
I'm never trading a card for a 3/3. I'm never trading a card for a 3/3.
So the problem is I actually won game 1 after doing that, or my first match after doing that, so I couldn't scoop going forward, but I should have to save face.
Yeah,
You're right.
That's
a smart play.
Yeah, it's just like, resign in shame. It happens, but you just don't want that getting out to the press. You don't want the Spike Colony podcast talking about what they heard happen. They said Mano traded 2 Terminates for 1 Call the Herd.
It was disgusting.
In his mid-range grindy red-black deck, it's just like...
I can still taste the throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
It happened 7 hours ago. I can still taste it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Premodern, it's tough out here in these Premodern streets.
In these streets.
But
what's actually been happening in this game? Anything?
So both players have
much,
decided that whatever their meddling mage is naming is worth them having. So they've decided that they don't want to bounce any mages off of each other because Javier will have
wow, spicy.
Pyrolyze. This makes me think that Javier might be a fan of maybe a little Rithsgrove. I mean, he's got the City of Brass. He
that-
might be playing the double splash. He might be playing the triple splash. A little bit of maybe there's engineered plagues in the board.
He's clearly playing the double. Like the triple plague. I mean, plague does nothing here, but
Chris is back on offense.
He's just gone against what you just. He's taking it.
Ooh,
How
boy.
important is that mage? How important is Javier's mage that he won't block? Oh my God!
I mean, it must be holding the whole room together.
Right, it has to be.
At this point,
It's on Replenish, but Replenish
step-
doesn't do anything.
End step wasteland. I do not like end step wasteland.
No one does. Obviously. Also, why? Like, how do you not block there? Because it's on Replenish, right? Like, what is? It's got to be on Replenish.
Yeah, and
Replenish does nothing right now.
yeah, exactly. I absolutely agree.
He finally sacked it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's something. So now Replenish is dead anyway.
So, if Javier's mage is on something other than a replenish, or Javier is trying to play towards a situation where he finally puts a creature on the battlefield, maybe things get interesting. But yeah, he is telling us through the camera that he is not interested in blocking either of these two meddling mages, and he's interested in attacking. And hopefully he'll find, I don't know, maybe he left in Swords to Plowshares, maybe the Caller Herd finally showed up for him.
What is happening right now?
Another meddling mage is getting cast. Wild? Okay.
Okay, so you were off. You couldn't name 57 cards in this deck.
I could not name evidently more than
50.
I don't know. I probably.
If he's playing one Mongo, he's probably playing 4.
At this point, I can't even get the lands.
Right. At least he's
Alright.
playing like the correct lands. The left side of the board is just embarrassing. What even are those?
I actually had a chat. Those are the third unset, like not unglued, not unhinged, but like,
Is he going to attack for 6 and just GG's?
Unzoomer. Yeah.
GG's. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
I'm going to throw up.
Yep. So tough matchup, I guess, for Javier. I was, fan it out for the camera, please. I was chatting with him in between rounds, and I was really hyped for him.
Oh, his hand was just nothing.
I was just, that's what happens when you have no dig. You have lots of air.
Yeah,
and he was just waiting for that mongrel so that he can
do literally anything.
He could turn it into a 3/3 with his
with all his
waiting
dead
land.
cards. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't get into combat until I knew that the wild mongrel was going to resolve. He might have forgotten that Mana Leak was in the range for Replenish. But
or
lots
just
of interesting
not
stuff
known.
going on.
Not everybody is as plugged in as you, Lanny. All right.
No,
So
absolutely.
Some people just show up and they just want to jam their shit, and sometimes they get mana leaked, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know.
And then the Mana Leak player gets to say, haha.
Right.
got
I'm smarter than you.
He gets to say booyah, which is Land's favorite thing to say.
He does love saying booyah.
But yeah, this is a matchup that you're going to see a lot of. I'm glad, we shouldn't call it.
Let's see what he did. He had 2 Crips.
Crips.
He in this deck definitely
There
plays
are
4
Caller
Geddons, though.
Herds.
He never do a Caller Herd.
I mean, I'm down for Geddons.
Yeah, you want to move? Yeah.
We're gonna look for getting
Andrew
one of the
Walker
other
just came
matches
in. He's gonna move. He's gonna try and move another matchup here for you guys.
So
I love his 4 and
McLean has astutely pointed out that if Javier had not activated his Wasteland,
you can see the chat
did a
right
little
there.
wait
That's what
and
you're
see,
looking at. Okay, sorry.
he would have had the 3rd mana to pay for the Mana Leak. But because of that end of turn Wasteland, no Wasteland kicking around, just take all your actions and then wait. Like the land is tapped, it's still going to be tapped on your turn.
Yeah.
Just like
It's a thing I know very well. Playing a lot of old school, the end of the EOT strip
mine.
is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right.
What happens when somebody EOT strips?
You
like,
high five
old school?
because they clearly their IQ can't be over 115 or so.
Yeah.
Right?
Would you say that is would be discouraging? Like if I show up to an old school tournament and I play round 1 on an EOT strip, and then all of a sudden Mano runs over and high fives
Your opponent?
and hugs my opponent, and he's just like
It's not going to be going well for you.
He's just like
I can say
then
that.
when